Good morning, Temple fam. I'm jumping in this morning about some boredom, about feeling stuck, and how this relates to the rebirth cycle as well as alchemy. I've been having a few conversations with people who have been coming up against this. They're like, I'm bored, I feel a little bit stagnant, and I know I've been there many, many times where it's like, I don't want to feel bored, right? Who's had that where they actually just don't want to feel bored? They don't want to slow down enough to feel bored because there's something in that for most people they don't want to feel. And what this is for so many is there's this conditioning of I need to do more to be worthy, I need to do more to be worth something. And if we actually stop and sit in the boredom, it's not actually about the boredom. It's not the boredom we are trying to ignore. There's a deeper underlying emotion that is unexpressed, unacknowledged, and unfelt that lives within the boredom. So, what people do is they get themselves on a hamster wheel thinking if they do more, get the next job, make more money, or go after the next thing, that the boredom will go away. But what this is an invitation from the soul to come into a deeper connection with ourselves because our natural state isn't one of boredom. Boredom is when we're used to having a hyperstimulated nervous system and we begin to slow down. There's this state in between having a hyperstimulated nervous system and a regulated one where it begins to feel boring because there's nothing happening and it's like, I'm just sitting here. But when we're in a parasympathetic nervous system, which is just a restful, relaxing nervous system, we feel whole, we feel energized or peaceful. There isn't actually a sense of boredom that's hardwired into us. This is a process that's been conditioned into us because of the stimulation of society and of culture. So, why we are looking to avoid this boredom is because between the hyperstimulated nervous system and the regulated nervous system, there's energy that's stored within it that needs to be expressed, needs to be moved, or needs to be alchemized in some way, shape, or form. And so, if you begin to get in that state of boredom, what may happen is different unconscious behaviors, unconscious thought patterns may begin to arise. So, this may be judgments against the self, it may be criticism, it may be shame or guilt or anger or sadness, emotions that for a lot of people they don't want to be they don't want to feel. We haven't had the tools to feel these emotions, so we look to reject them and avoid them at all costs. So when this sense of boredom comes up, the first thing people want to do, and this has been a big one for me, who grew up thinking I just need to do, and if I was to sit down, I was lazy and it wasn't productive, and I just need to keep going. That was kind of the conditioning I grew up with. What happens is we begin to rewire this conditioning, but it takes feeling these emotions. And why this is important is that emotions that you need to feel within this, they're storing and keeping you stuck in a certain reality. Because when you're afraid to feel a certain emotion, and it's not actually the boredom, let me just be clear, it's the emotion underneath the boredom that you're afraid to feel, whatever that was suppressed in your childhood or wasn't welcome. When you're afraid to feel that, it means that you limit yourself to this frame of reality. It means you limit yourself to these actions. Because if you were to expand upon those actions or do something different in your life, well, you're afraid that you would then have to feel that emotion. So, as a way to make yourself not have to feel that emotion, you keep yourself in this lane. You keep your possibilities limited because then you're safe. Then you don't run the risk of feeling the emotion that could change how you view reality and also create different possibilities for you. So, what we want to come into relationship with here is your ability to open to the feeling and to breathe through this sense of boredom. And it's the same thing when you're feeling stuck. A lot of people, when they start to feel stuck, they look to reach out and grasp and try and pull themselves away from where they are, right? It's easy if we grab onto something and like, oh, I'm not stuck because I'm doing this thing and getting validation or worthiness from that part. But actually, the invitation is for us to let go and come home and be in the feeling of being stuck. because this is the implosion. A lot of people have a deep wound which we're trying to avoid at all costs, and this is what I'm talking about that sits beneath the boredom. And we're trying to project all our energy out to run away from ourselves, to avoid this deeper emotion that is present. But as part of this, we are separating our energy from ourselves, we're dispersing it, and we're trying to run away. Now, the practice here is when we're getting this sense of boredom, this feeling of stagnancy, is actually to slow down and begin to feel what is occurring for us. Because in it, this can become the implosion. This is what happens when a black hole meets critical mass and then the energy goes outwards. This is what we're looking to do. If we can slow down and begin to feel, because this stuck energy, there's a lot of life force, there's a lot of vitality, there's a lot of new opportunities and possibilities that opens up levels of consciousness that we didn't have access to before. When we slow down and begin to feel that and be with that, that opens up this possibility to expand yourself beyond what you know. But the only way you can do this is firstly slowing down. And that may feel like dying. It may feel like if you let go of working so hard, you'll lose the job, you'll lose the money, you'll lose the relationship. And this is the process of death, of being willing to die before you die. Because you need to sit in the discomfort of all of that, because that's what's kept you trapped in your reality. You've been on a hamster wheel because you're constantly running, seeking more, because you believe that if you do that, you'll be free. But freedom comes from meeting yourself on such a deep level that you are not in reactivity to the conditions and the emotions that they then trigger. So this means when that fear comes up, and this doesn't mean you have to quit your job and sit without money or just have nothing. No, it just means you need to meet the fear of slowing down. And whatever that is that you're running from, you need to turn and face that. You need to be able to meet that, so then you can know that that fear doesn't control you. Most people are running from fear. They're afraid that if they're not making the money, they're afraid that if they slow down, they won't be the man or they won't be the woman, whatever it is. But when they actually slow down and meet this fear and begin to alchemize it, because this is a process when we can learn to be with a fear, it begins to change within us, so that we open up new levels of possibility, expand in our reality, expand in the conditions and the rules that we live within, because this is where liberation lies. This is where freedom lies. Not by the money or by the circumstance, by our ability to be with the fear and meet the fear and see that on the other side of the fear is liberation. So if you're feeling stuck, stagnant, or just in that place where you're like, I need to do something, and maybe you do, but just check in. Are you trying to avoid sitting with the emotion that is you are experiencing beneath it? Because when you allow yourself to experience this first, you'll notice a shift in your reality, and this is when you begin to flow and find ease with what you're creating, with what you're doing, and your work. So enjoy.